My name is Linda Marshall. I'm 71 years old, and I'm going to tell you about the night something impossible saved my son's life, and then stayed with us for 18 years. This happened in the summer of 1987. I was 34, recently divorced, trying to make a living on a small farm in the mountains of Northern California. 20 acres of property, mostly forest, with a farmhouse and a barn, remote, isolated. The nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. It was just me and my son Tommy. He was 7 years old that summer, bright kid, loved animals. We had chickens, a few goats, and Tommy's dog Rex, a mutt we'd rescued from the shelter. That dog followed Tommy everywhere. The summer of '87 was brutal, drought conditions. Everything was tinder dry. The Forest Service kept issuing warnings about fire danger, but when you live in the mountains, fire warnings are just part of life. You prepare, you clear brush, you hope for the best. On August 15, 1987, I went to bed around 10 p.m. Tommy was already asleep. Everything seemed normal. I woke up to the smell of smoke. At first, I thought it was coming from outside, maybe a neighbor burning trash, wind carrying the smell. But when I opened my eyes, I could see an orange glow through my bedroom window. I ran to the window and my heart stopped. The forest was on fire, flames 30, 40 feet high, moving through the trees like a living thing. And the wind, God, the wind was blowing hard, pushing the fire straight toward my property. I ran to Tommy's room. "Wake up! We have to go! Now!" His bed was empty. "Tommy!" I screamed. "Tommy, where are you?" I ran through the house, calling his name. Kitchen, bathroom, living room. He wasn't inside. Then I heard it, faint barking from outside. Rex, the dog, was barking from the barn. And I knew exactly where Tommy had gone. I ran out of the house. The heat hit me like a wall. The fire had reached the edge of my property, maybe 200 yards away and moving fast. Embers were raining down, starting spot fires in the dry grass. The barn was already burning. Flames crawling up the side, smoke pouring from the hayloft. "Tommy!" I screamed. "Tommy!" I ran toward the barn. The heat was unbearable, the smoke choking. I could hear Rex barking inside, could hear timbers cracking. I tried to reach the door, got within 10 feet before the heat forced me back. The structure was collapsing, the roof sagging, about to cave in. "Tommy!" I was sobbing, screaming his name. "My baby!" I tried again to get closer. The roof made a groaning sound, started to collapse inward. I fell to my knees in the dirt, watching the barn collapse, knowing my son was inside, knowing he'd run in to save his dog, and now both of them were going to die and there was nothing I could do. I failed him. I failed my little boy. That's when I saw it. Movement through the flames. Something large. Moving through the fire like it wasn't even there. At first, I thought it was a tree falling, or part of the barn structure. But then it emerged from the smoke and flames, and I saw what it really was. A creature. Massive. At least 8, maybe 9 feet tall. Covered in dark fur that was singed and smoking. Broad shoulders. Long arms. Walking upright on 2 legs. And it was carrying something. Tommy. Limp in the creature's arms. Unconscious or dead, I couldn't tell. The creature walked straight through the burning debris, through the collapsed barn door, through flames that would have killed any living thing, and stopped about 15 feet from where I was kneeling. We stared at each other. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. The creature was real, solid. I could see the details, the dark reddish-brown fur now smoking in places, the massive hands, one supporting Tommy's back, one under his legs, the face, not quite human, not quite ape, broad, flat features, deep-set eyes that caught the light from the fire, eyes that looked intelligent, aware. It made a sound, low, rumbling, not aggressive, almost reassuring. Then it knelt down and gently, so gently, placed Tommy on the ground at my feet. I reached for my son, pulled him to me. His chest was moving. He was breathing, alive. I looked up at the creature, my arms wrapped around Tommy. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you." The creature looked at me for a long moment. Then it turned and walked back into the flames, back into the collapsing barn, back into the inferno like it had somewhere else to be. It disappeared into the smoke and fire and was gone. I sat there holding Tommy, surrounded by burning structures, watching my farm burn, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Something impossible had just saved my son's life. The fire department arrived 20 minutes later. By then, the barn was completely gone and the fire had moved past my property, continuing up the mountain. The house was damaged but standing. The outbuildings were destroyed. The firefighters found us in the yard. I was still holding Tommy, who was starting to wake up. "Ma'am, we need to get him to a hospital," one of them said. They loaded Tommy into an ambulance. I rode with him, holding his hand, watching him breathe. He opened his eyes as we were driving. "Mama?" His voice was hoarse from the smoke. "I'm here, baby. You're okay. You're going to be okay." "The big man saved me," he whispered. "The furry man. He carried me out." "I know," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I saw him. He was nice, Mama. He didn't hurt me. He was gentle." Tommy passed out again. The paramedic said it was the smoke inhalation, that he'd be okay, just needed oxygen and monitoring. At the hospital, they treated him for minor burns on his arms and legs. 2nd degree, painful but not life-threatening. His lungs had smoke damage but not severe. They said he was incredibly lucky. Lucky didn't begin to cover it. He'd been inside a collapsing, burning barn. He should have died, would have died, but something had gone in and gotten him. Something that could walk through fire. Something that knew he was in there and needed help. The doctors asked what happened, how Tommy got out. "Someone pulled him out," I said. A neighbor. Big guy. He ran in and got Tommy out before I could stop him." "He must have been burned," the doctor said. "We should check him for injuries." He left before the fire department arrived. Didn't want to be a hero. You know how some people are. They didn't push it. They had no reason not to believe me, but Tommy kept talking about it, to the doctors, to the nurses, to anyone who would listen. The big furry man saved me. He was huge, like a giant, but nice. He picked me up and carried me out. Rex was already outside. I think the big man let him out first. Then he came back for me. The medical staff exchanged looks. Trauma response, they said. Hallucination from smoke inhalation. Kids often create protective figures during traumatic events. But I knew better. I'd seen it. Seen the creature walk out of the flames with my son in its arms. 3 days later, we were released from the hospital. A friend drove us back to what was left of the farm. The barn was a smoking pile of rubble. The chicken coop was gone. One of the sheds had burned. The house had smoke and heat damage, but was structurally intact. And Rex was there, waiting on the porch, singed, limping a little, but alive. Tommy cried and hugged his dog. "The big man saved you too," he whispered into Rex's fur. I looked at the forest, at the burn line where the fire had passed through, at the blackened trees and scorched earth. Something had walked through that inferno. Something had saved my son and his dog. Something impossible. Insurance paid out enough to rebuild. Barely. I had to take out loans for the rest, but I was determined to stay. This was our home. Where else would we go? The reconstruction started in October. Local contractors, good people who gave me a fair price because they knew I was struggling. That's when the first strange thing happened. One of the workers, guy named Bill, came to me one morning with a weird expression on his face. "Ma'am, I don't want to alarm you, but I think you might have a bear problem." "A bear?" "Found tracks near where the old barn was. Big tracks. Real big. Biggest bear prints I've ever seen, if that's what they are." He showed me. I walked over to the muddy ground near the foundation we'd poured. The prints were huge, easily 18 inches long, 5 toes, human-shaped but massive. Not bear tracks. I'd seen bear tracks. These were different. "Probably just a big male passing through," I said, keeping my voice steady. "We'll keep an eye out." But I knew what they were, or at least I thought I did. Over the next few weeks, more signs appeared, more prints after it rained, branches broken at the tree line, too high for a human to reach, arranged like someone had been standing there watching the construction. And then the gifts started. One morning in November, I found a pile of berries on my porch, wild blackberries perfectly ripe, arranged in a neat pile. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe a bird had dropped them, or wind had blown them there. But 2 days later, there were more. Blackberries and salmonberries, and mushrooms, chanterelles, valuable mushrooms that grow in the forest. Then small game, a rabbit, already cleaned and prepared, left near my back door. Something, was leaving gifts. I started watching at night, staying up late, looking out the windows, trying to see who or what was doing this. On a cold November evening, I finally saw it. I was sitting in my dark living room looking out the window when I saw 2 points of light at the edge of the forest, maybe 50 meters away. Eyes, reflecting the porch light I'd left on, too high off the ground to be a deer, too far apart to be a coyote or bobcat. I stood up slowly, moving to the window. The eyes didn't move, just watched. I grabbed my flashlight, shined it toward the tree line. The beam caught it for just a second. The creature, massive, standing upright, covered in dark fur. Then it stepped back into the shadows and was gone. My heart was pounding. I should have been terrified, should have called the police or animal control or someone, but I wasn't scared, not really, because I understood. The creature that saved Tommy was still here, still watching over us, protecting us. I walked onto the porch, looked toward where I'd seen it. "Thank you," I said into the darkness. "For Tommy, for everything. Thank you." No response, just the wind through the burned trees. But the next morning, there was a larger pile of berries on the porch than ever before. And I knew our guardian was watching, and it wasn't going to leave. The rebuilding took almost a year. By fall of 1988, we had a new barn, new outbuildings, the house fully repaired. The farm was functional again. We'd survived the fire, survived the financial strain, survived everything. And through it all, the creature was there, watching. The construction workers noticed. They'd mentioned seeing something big at the tree line at dusk, hearing sounds they couldn't identify, finding those massive prints in the mud. "You've got something living in those woods," Bill told me when the work was finishing up. "Something I've never seen before. Be careful, Linda." "I will," I said. But I wasn't worried, because I knew what was out there, and I knew it wasn't a threat. Tommy was 8 now, back in school, adjusting to normal life, but he still talked about the fire, about the furry giant who'd saved him. Other kids thought he was making it up. Some adults thought he'd been traumatized and created a fantasy. But Tommy insisted, "He was real, Mama. I know he was. And I think he's still here." "Why do you think that?" I asked one evening. "Because I see him sometimes, at night, through my window. He's watching our house." "Are you scared?" Tommy shook his head. "No, he's protecting us. I can feel it." Out of the mouths of children. Tommy understood something that adults couldn't grasp, that protection sometimes comes in forms we don't expect. The gifts continued regularly, berries in season, mushrooms in the fall. Once, a beautiful elk antler, massive and perfectly intact, left on the porch steps. I started leaving things in return: food, bread, vegetables from my garden, meat when I had extra. I'd place them at the edge of the forest before bed. By morning, they'd be gone. We had an exchange, a relationship, unspoken but real. In the spring of 1989, almost 2 years after the fire, I saw the creature clearly for the second time. I was up late, unable to sleep, sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. The night was clear, the moon full. I could see the tree line clearly, and there it was, standing at the edge of the forest, just standing there, watching the house. I didn't move, didn't call out, just watched it watching us. We stayed like that for maybe 10 minutes. Me on my porch, it at the tree line, two beings acknowledging each other's presence across 50 meters of space. Then it raised one hand, slowly, deliberately. Was it waving? Acknowledging me? I didn't know. I raised my hand back. A small wave, a gesture of what? Gratitude? Respect? Friendship? The creature lowered its hand, turned, and walked back into the forest. After that, I saw it regularly, never close, always at a distance, but particularly on full moons, it would appear at the tree line, standing sentinel, watching. I stopped being afraid, started looking forward to those sightings, started checking the calendar for full moons, knowing I'd probably see our guardian that night. Tommy saw it too. He'd come running into my room. "Mama, he's there. The big man is there." We'd go to the window together and watch. Tommy would wave. Sometimes the creature would wave back. "See?" Tommy would say. "He's watching over us." Years passed. The pattern continued. Tommy grew, started middle school, then high school. The creature remained constant, appearing regularly, always watching, always protecting. In 1993, when Tommy was 13, something happened that proved just how protective our guardian really was. A drifter had been camping on the edge of my property without permission. I'd seen him a few times, asked him to leave. He'd always apologize, say he was moving on, but he'd still be there the next day. He made me uncomfortable. The way he looked at the house, the way he'd appear near the property line, watching. I called the sheriff, but in rural areas, you can't get much help unless there's an actual crime. Trespassing alone wasn't enough for them to do much. One morning in August, I woke up and looked out my window. The drifter's camp was destroyed, tent torn to shreds, belongings scattered, and the drifter was gone. His truck was still there, keys in the ignition, but he was nowhere to be found. I found tracks around his campsite, those massive 18-inch prints, everywhere circling the camp, clear message. The sheriff came out, investigated, said it looked like a bear attack, though they couldn't find the drifter. Eventually, they located him 3 towns over. He'd walked through the night to get away, refusing to say what happened, just kept saying something big had come to his camp, had roared at him, had made it clear he needed to leave immediately. The sheriff asked if I'd seen or heard anything. "No," I lied. "I sleep pretty soundly." But I knew. Our guardian had dealt with a threat, had protected us from someone who might have meant us harm. I left an entire roasted chicken at the forest edge that night, my way of saying thank you. By morning, it was gone. Tommy graduated high school in 1998, went off to college in Oregon. For the first time in his life, he was away from the farm, away from home, and I was alone. Well, not entirely alone. After Tommy left, I noticed the creature's presence increased. I saw it more frequently, sometimes twice a week instead of just at full moons, sometimes closer to the house, maybe 30 meters instead of 50. Was it worried about me being alone? Could it sense my loneliness? I started talking to it when I left food, speaking out loud, even though I didn't know if it could understand English. Tommy's doing well at school, made the dean's list. He's studying forestry. I think that's because of you, because of knowing you're out there. He wants to protect places like this. I talk about my day, about repairs I was doing, about how quiet the house felt. "I miss him," I admitted one night. "The house is too empty without him, but I'm glad he's getting an education, building a life." The creature never responded, never moved, just stood there at the tree line, listening. Or at least, I hoped it was listening. Tommy came home for Christmas that year. First thing he did after hugging me was ask, "Is he still here?" "Every full moon," I said, like clockwork. That night, Tommy and I sat on the porch together in the cold December air, waiting. Sure enough, around 10 p.m., the creature appeared at the tree line. Tommy stood up. "Hi," he called out. "It's me, Tommy. You saved me from the fire, remember?" The creature didn't move, just stood there. "Thank you," Tommy said, his voice catching. "I never got to say thank you properly, but thank you. For my life, for watching over my mom. Thank you." The creature raised its hand. That same slow wave I'd seen before. Tommy waved back, tears streaming down his face. We stayed out there until the creature left, maybe an hour later. Tommy didn't say much, just sat there crying quietly. "You okay?" I asked. "I remember it more now," he said. "Being in the fire, the smoke, thinking I was going to die, then these huge hands picking me up, carrying me. I remember feeling safe, like whatever this thing was, it wasn't going to let anything happen to me." "It didn't," I said, "and it's been making sure nothing happens to us ever since." Tommy came home more often after that. Every break, every holiday, he'd always spend at least one night watching for the creature. In 2003, Tommy graduated college and came home permanently. "I want to work the farm with you," he said. "Want to be here. This is home." He brought his girlfriend Sarah with him. They'd met at college, been dating for 2 years. She was sweet, smart, loved the outdoors, but she didn't know about our guardian. How do you explain that? "Oh, by the way, there's a Sasquatch that lives in our woods and has been protecting us for 16 years. Sarah found out by accident. One night in July, she went outside to put something in the compost, came running back inside, pale and shaking. "There's something out there," she said. "Something big. It was standing at the edge of the trees. I saw it. Linda, what the hell was that?" Tommy and I exchanged glances. "Sit down," I said. "We need to tell you something." We told her everything, the fire, the rescue, the 18 years of gifts and protection, the sightings, all of it. Sarah listened, her eyes getting wider and wider. "You're telling me there's a Bigfoot living in your woods," she said slowly. "Yes," Tommy said, "and it's been here since you were 7. "Yes." "And it saved your life." "Yes." Sarah looked at both of us like we'd lost our minds. That's not possible. Bigfoot isn't real." "Come outside," I said. "Wait on the porch. If you're patient, you'll see." We sat on the porch for 2 hours. Sarah was ready to give up when Tommy grabbed her arm. "There," he whispered. At the tree line, barely visible in the moonlight, the creature stood. Massive, unmistakable. Sarah made a sound, half gasp, half sob. "Oh my God, oh my God!" "It's real." "It's real," I confirmed. "And it's been protecting us for 16 years. It's family, Sarah. Strange as that sounds." We watched until the creature disappeared back into the forest. Sarah didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, "I need a drink." We went inside. I poured us all whiskey. We sat at the kitchen table, processing. "Does anyone else know?" Sarah asked. "No," I said, "just us. And it needs to stay that way. If people found out, they'd come for it. Hunt it, capture it, kill it. I can't let that happen. Not to something that saved my son, not to something that's watched over us for so long." Sarah nodded slowly. "I won't tell anyone, I promise." She kept that promise. Still has to this day. By 2005, 18 years had passed since the fire. Tommy was 25. Sarah and Tommy had gotten engaged. They were planning to build a small house on the property near mine but separate. Life was good. The farm was stable. We were happy. And our guardian was still there, still watching, still leaving occasional gifts. But in the spring of that year, something changed. The gifts became more frequent, larger. Piles of berries, mushrooms, roots I didn't recognize. Every few days, something new. It felt different, deliberate, like the creature was trying to tell us something. Then, on May 15, 2005, I found the largest pile of gifts I'd ever seen. Berries, mushrooms, wild onions, pine cones, flowers, feathers, all arranged in a careful circle on my porch. Beautiful, deliberate, almost ceremonial. I stood there staring at it, a knot forming in my stomach. This felt like goodbye. That night I waited on the porch. It was a full moon. The creature always appeared during full moons, but the tree line remained empty. I waited until dawn. Nothing. The next full moon, I waited again. Nothing. And that's when I knew. After 18 years, our guardian was gone. The absence was profound. For 18 years, I'd known something was watching over us, protecting us, and now, suddenly, that presence was gone. I kept waiting, kept watching on full moon nights, kept leaving food at the forest edge. But the food would sit there for days, untouched, until animals scattered it or weather ruined it. Tommy noticed immediately. "He's not coming anymore, is he?" "No," I said. "I don't think he is." "Why? What happened?" "I don't know, baby. Maybe his time was up. Maybe he moved on. Maybe he decided we didn't need him anymore." But the not knowing was the hardest part. Tommy started searching the woods. He'd take Rex, older now, graying around the muzzle but still loyal, and they'd hike deep into the forest, looking for signs. He found the shelter after 3 weeks of searching. It was about 2 miles into the woods, in a dense area we rarely went. A natural cave, partially hidden by brush. Inside, there were signs of long-term habitation. A sleeping area made of moss and leaves, smooth stones arranged in patterns, bones from small game, cleaned and stacked, but it was cold, abandoned. The creature hadn't been there in weeks, maybe months. "He's really gone," Tommy said, standing in the cave entrance. I thought he'd always be here." "Nothing lasts forever," I said, even though it broke my heart to say it. We didn't disturb the cave, left it as we found it. It felt sacred somehow, a piece of history that deserved respect. Sarah tried to comfort us. "Maybe he's out there somewhere, just watching from farther away. Maybe he's okay." But I didn't think so. That ceremonial pile of gifts, that had been goodbye. Final, deliberate. Whatever our guardian was, wherever it had come from, it was gone now. Over the next few months, I grieved in a way I hadn't expected. This creature, I'd never spoken to it, never touched it except for that moment when it placed Tommy in my arms. But it had been part of our lives for 18 years, part of our family, and now there was a hole where its presence had been. Tommy and Sarah got married in October 2005, small ceremony on the property, close friends and family. It was beautiful. During the reception, Tommy raised his glass for a toast. "To family," he said, "including the ones who watch over us in ways we don't expect. Thank you, wherever you are." Everyone probably thought he was talking about his father, who'd passed away years earlier. But Sarah and I knew. We raised our glasses to the forest, to the guardian who wasn't there anymore. Life continued. Tommy and Sarah built their house on the property, had their first child in 2007, a daughter they named Rebecca, then a son in 2009, named Robert, after Tommy's grandfather. I became a grandmother, watched my son build the life I'd always hoped he'd have. The farm prospered. We were happy, but I never stopped leaving food at the forest edge. Every week, without fail, bread, fruit, vegetables, my ritual, my way of honoring what had been. The food always went untouched, but I kept doing it anyway. Tommy's kids grew up hearing the story. "Grandma, tell us about Great-Grandpa Bigfoot," Rebecca would beg. "Great-Grandpa Bigfoot?" I laughed. "That's what Daddy calls him, the Bigfoot who saved him from the fire, who watched over you for years and years. Tell us." So I'd tell them about the fire, about the massive creature walking through flames with their father in its arms, about 18 years of gifts and protection, about the guardian we'd had and lost. "Is he still out there?" Robert asked once. He was maybe 6 years old, wide-eyed and believing. I don't know, I said honestly, but I hope so. I hope he's somewhere safe and peaceful. Will he come back? Maybe. Or maybe he did his job and moved on to protect someone else who needed him. The kids liked that idea, that their great-grandpa Bigfoot was out there somewhere, watching over other people who were in danger. Years passed. 2010, 2015, 2020. Tommy took over more of the farm operations as I got older. I was in my 60s now, slowing down, content to be the grandmother, to watch the next generation grow. Sarah was pregnant with their third child in 2015 when something strange happened. There was a severe storm, lightning, high winds, heavy rain. Around 2 a.m., lightning struck a tree near Tommy and Sarah's house. The tree caught fire despite the rain, flames spreading to their roof. Sarah was 8 months pregnant. Tommy was trying to get her and the kids out. I ran from my house to help, my heart in my throat. This was the fire all over again, my worst nightmare repeating itself. Tommy got Rebecca and Robert out first, then went back for Sarah. But Sarah had fallen, hurt her ankle, couldn't walk fast. The smoke was getting worse. I was screaming, trying to get to them, when I heard it. A sound I hadn't heard in 10 years. Deep, resonant, coming from the forest. Tommy emerged from the house with Sarah in his arms, limping, both of them coughing. He got her to safety just as the volunteer fire department arrived. Everyone was okay. The fire was contained. The house had damage but was savable. But Tommy pulled me aside afterward. "Mom, I heard something in the woods during the fire. That sound, like the one you described from 1987. Do you think—" "I don't know," I said, but my heart was racing. The next morning, I found something on my porch. For the first time in 10 years, a pile of berries, fresh, deliberately arranged. I stood there staring at it, tears streaming down my face. "You're still here," I whispered. "All this time, you've still been here." But that was the only sign. No more gifts appeared, no sightings. Just that one pile of berries, as if the creature was saying, "I'm still watching. I'll always be watching when you need me." Tommy and Sarah's third child, another daughter, Emma, was born healthy 2 weeks later. Life continued. I'm 71 years old now. It's been 37 years since the fire, 19 years since the creature stopped appearing regularly, but I still think about it every day. Rebecca is 17 now, applying to colleges. Robert is 15, already taller than his father. Emma is 9, wild and fearless. They all know the story. They all believe it. In that way, children believe things adults have forgotten how to believe. Sometimes, late at night, I think I see something at the tree line. A shadow, a shape, eyes reflecting light. Is it the same creature? I don't know. It would be ancient now, if it's even still alive. Maybe it's offspring. Maybe it's something else entirely. Or maybe it's just my hope, seeing what I want to see. But I keep leaving food, every week, without fail, bread, fruit, vegetables, my offering, my gratitude, my way of saying, I haven't forgotten. I'll never forget. Last month, Rebecca asked me something while we were sitting on the porch together. "Grandma, do you really think he's still out there?" "I do," I said. "Maybe not the same one, maybe not watching as closely, but yes, I think something is still out there, still aware of us, still connected to us somehow." "Because he saved Dad?" "Because we're family. In a strange, impossible way, he saved your father's life, watched over us for 18 years. That kind of bond doesn't just disappear." Rebecca was quiet for a moment. "I hope he knows we're grateful, that we haven't forgotten him." "I think he knows," I said. That night, for the first time in months, I saw something at the tree line. Just for a moment. 2 points of light. Eyes. Then darkness. I raised my hand, waved, like I'd done so many times before, and the eyes blinked out. Whatever it was gone. But I felt peace, certainty. Our guardian, the original one, or its descendant or something else, was still there, still watching, still protecting. 37 years later, that connection remains unbroken. I'm telling this story now because I need people to understand something. Not to prove it happened. I have no proof, no photos, no video, just memories and a lifetime of gratitude. But I need to tell it because it matters. Because what happened to my family matters. In August 2024, I turned 71 years old. Tommy threw me a party on the farm. All the grandkids were there. Sarah made my favorite cake. It was beautiful. Perfect. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat on my porch alone. It was a clear night, the moon nearly full. The kind of night I'd spent so many hours on this porch, watching, waiting, hoping for a glimpse of our guardian. I was thinking about the past 37 years, about how much had changed, about how much had stayed the same. The farm was still here. Tommy was still here. We'd survived the fire, survived financial hardship, survived everything life had thrown at us. And through 18 of those years, something impossible had watched over us, protected us, asked for nothing in return except maybe a little food and our silence. I looked toward the tree line. I'm old now, I said out loud. 71. I don't know how much time I have left, but I wanted you to know, if you're still out there, if you can hear me, that I've never forgotten, not for a single day. The forest was silent, just wind through the trees. Tommy's 44 now. He has 3 beautiful children. The farm is thriving, we're happy, and it's because of you. Because you saved him that night, because you gave him a chance to grow up, to have a family, to build a life. I felt tears starting. I don't know why you did it. Don't know why you walked into that fire when every instinct should have told you to run. Don't know why you stayed for 18 years watching over us. But thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I sat there for a long time. No response came. No movement at the tree line, just the normal sounds of a summer night. But I felt something, a presence, an acknowledgement, like the forest itself was listening. I went to bed that night feeling a peace I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, I found something on my porch that made me catch my breath. A gift, the first one in years. Not just berries or mushrooms this time, something different. A perfect bird's nest, intricately woven, placed carefully in the center of the porch, and inside the nest, 3 smooth river stones, arranged in a triangle, and a single white feather, pristine and beautiful. I picked up the nest with shaking hands. This was deliberate, meaningful, a message. But what did it mean? I showed Tommy. He stared at it, his eyes filling with tears. "It's still here," he whispered. "After all these years, it's still here." "Or it came back," I said, "to leave this, to say something." We sat with that nest for hours trying to understand. Finally, Sarah offered an interpretation. Maybe it's saying, you're protected. The nest, protection. The stones, foundation, stability. The feather, peace. Maybe it's saying, you're safe. You've always been safe, and you'll continue to be safe. It made sense, and whether it was the right interpretation or not, it gave us comfort. I placed the nest on a shelf in my living room where I could see it every day, my most precious possession, proof that what we experienced was real. Over the next few months, I thought a lot about legacy, about what we leave behind when we're gone. I decided to write everything down, the full story, every detail I could remember. Not for publication. I'd never do that, never risk exposing our guardian to the world, but for my family, for Tommy's children and their children, so they'd know the truth, so the story wouldn't die with me. I wrote for weeks, filled a notebook with memories, the fire, the rescue, the 18 years of gifts and protection, the absence, the occasional signs that something was still watching. When I finished, I gave it to Tommy. "This is for the family," I said, "for the kids, for their kids, so they know what really happened, what we had, what protected us." Tommy read it with tears streaming down his face. "Mom, this is..." "Thank you. Thank you for writing it down." "It needed to be remembered," I said. "He needed to be remembered." In October 2024, Rebecca left for college, the first of Tommy's children to go. She was studying wildlife biology. "I want to understand the natural world," she told me. "Want to protect places where wild things can live undisturbed, like our forest, like great-grandpa Bigfoot's forest." The night before she left, Rebecca asked if she could spend the night at my house. We sat on the porch together like I'd done with Tommy so many times. "Grandma, do you think I'll ever see him, the creature that saved Dad?" "I don't know, honey, maybe. Or maybe you'll see something else just as remarkable. The world is full of mysteries. Most people just don't pay attention." "I'm going to pay attention," she said firmly. "I'm going to look for the things everyone else misses." That night, I swear we saw something at the tree line. Just for a moment. A massive shape, there and then gone. Rebecca gasped. "Did you see that?" "I saw something," I said carefully. "It was him. I know it was him. He's saying goodbye to me because I'm leaving." Maybe she was right. Maybe the creature, or its descendant or something else, had come to acknowledge her departure, to see her off. Or maybe it was just shadows and hope and a young girl's belief in magic. Either way, Rebecca left for college the next day with a story she'd carry forever. Last week, something happened that brought everything full circle. There was a small brush fire on the edge of our property. Nothing like the 1987 fire. This one was contained quickly, probably started by a lightning strike. But it scared me, brought back memories. Tommy and I were watching the volunteer fire department put it out when I heard a sound behind me, deep, resonant, familiar. I turned slowly. Nothing was there, just the forest, but I'd heard it. That sound. The same one I'd heard 37 years ago, the same one Tommy had heard during his house fire in 2015. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Tommy nodded, his eyes wide. "He's here, making sure we're okay." The fire was out within an hour, no damage except some burned grass. But that sound stayed with me. Our guardian, whatever form it takes now, however old or young it might be, is still watching, still aware of us, still connected. I'm 71 years old. I don't know how many years I have left, but I know this. When my time comes, I'll die knowing that something remarkable happened to my family, that we were chosen, for whatever reason, to be protected by something the world doesn't believe exists. I still leave food at the forest edge every week. I'll keep doing it until I physically can't anymore. And I've told Tommy to continue the tradition after I'm gone, to keep leaving offerings, to keep honoring the creature that saved his life and watched over us for 18 years. It's the least we can do. People ask me sometimes if I'm afraid, living out here on this isolated farm, if I worry about wild animals or intruders or danger. I tell them no. I'm not afraid, because I know something is watching over this place, has been watching for 37 years, and will probably continue watching long after I'm gone. Last night, I had a dream. I was standing in the yard, and the farm was on fire again, just like 1987. But this time, I wasn't panicking. I was calm, because I knew. I knew the creature would come, would protect us, would walk through the flames if necessary, and in the dream, I saw it emerge from the fire. Massive, powerful, gentle. It walked up to me and placed one huge hand on my shoulder. I felt no fear, just peace. Then I woke up, but the peace remained. I think that dream was a message, a reminder that we're protected, that we've always been protected, and that when my time comes, I don't need to be afraid, because our guardian is still out there, still watching. To anyone listening to this story, I know it sounds impossible. I know it challenges everything we think we know about the world, but it happened. Every word of it is true. There are beings in our forests that we don't understand, that science doesn't acknowledge, that most people will never see. But they're there. And sometimes, for reasons we may never understand, they choose to protect us. My family was chosen. We were given a gift, a guardian who asked nothing except to exist in peace, who saved a child's life and then spent 18 years making sure that child and his mother stayed safe. I'll spend the rest of my life grateful for that gift. And when I'm gone, Tommy will continue the tradition. He'll leave food at the forest edge. He'll watch the tree line on full moon nights. He'll teach his children and grandchildren the story of the creature that saved him from the fire. The story will live on. The gratitude will live on. And maybe, somewhere in those mountains, our guardian will know. Will understand that it wasn't just tolerated or feared. It was loved. It was family. 3 days ago, I went to leave my weekly offering of food at the forest edge. As I was walking back to the house, I looked over my shoulder one last time, and I saw them, 2 points of light, eyes, watching me from between the trees. I stopped, raised my hand, waved, the eyes blinked. Once, twice, then they were gone. But I felt it, that connection, that acknowledgement. After 37 years, it's still there, still unbroken. My name is Linda Marshall. I'm 71 years old, and I'm telling you this because the world needs to know that monsters aren't always monstrous, that some of the biggest, most fearsome creatures can have the gentlest hearts. The creature that saved my son taught me that, showed me that protection can come from the most unexpected sources, that family isn't always defined by blood or species, that loyalty and love can exist between beings who never speak a word to each other. I don't know how many more years I have, but I know I'll spend them watching that tree line, leaving offerings, honoring the guardian who changed our lives forever. And when I'm gone, when my time on this farm is done, I hope my final sight is 2 glowing points of light at the forest edge, watching over me one last time, guiding me home. Thank you, my friend, for everything, for my son's life, for 18 years of protection, for 37 years of connection. You were never just a creature in the woods. You were, and always will be, family.